And a good evening to you. Welcome inside the Bottom Line. Lanny Ford, Juju Phillips along with you here on a beautiful Monday. Warmer than I really want it to be. I've got 78 degrees is what I'm showing now.
Got up into the low 80s earlier today.
If it can stay no hotter than that, I'll take it. And you can keep your humidity too. I don't want any part of it as well. But beautiful weather this week. Really no rain in the forecast until sometime on the weekend.
Yeah.
And then a low chance. We were just discussing here a little of the draft, and especially the number 8 pick by the Dirty Birds down 85. And the Dirty Birds picked up a quarterback. They picked up Michael Penix Jr. And one of the things you have to say about Michael Penix Jr., he went out and made some comments about his desires, what football means to him, the not being concerned from the 2 surgeries. I think that resonated with a lot of folks. I mean, I don't know all the inside. I'll tell you what, this is what I think. And we won't play out till we get there. One thing's for sure, the Falcons are pretty well built to win now.
On offense.
They could have used a few more pieces. Everybody can always use pieces.
They need them on defense. They're last in the league in like sacks and pressures and that kind of thing.
But one of the things, and you're wondering, do they know something about Cousins' progress coming off the Achilles that maybe everybody else don't know?
Well, they should, right?
But
teams always know more than the media.
Right. What I'm saying, they're not talking about it.
Yeah.
So there could be some issues there that we're really not aware of that they know more about. Mm-hmm. And I haven't looked at their, and I probably need to pull that up. Do you have any idea what their quarterback room looked like?
Last year, it was pretty bad. They traded away a couple of guys, right? Mm-hmm. Taylor Heineke was on the roster, so was the guy from Cincinnati. The quarterbacks are the reason why they changed coaches. They fired Arthur Smith, who's now the coordinator with the Steelers.
Defensive guy, offensive guy?
Arthur Smith,
mm-hmm.
he was an offensive guy.
Okay.
Yeah. So that switched. They went from an offense to a defensive guy. Taylor Heineke.
He's still on the roster.
Yeah, he's still on the roster. What's his name?
That's it. That's on the roster. That's the depth chart. Cousins, Penix, Heineke.
Okay, so they got rid of the other quarterback that they drafted like in the 3rd round a couple of years ago from Cincinnati. Well, okay, they needed a quarterback.
There is
but they had their choice of the best any defensive player in the draft because all offensive guys went in the first 7 picks. They could have picked an edge rusher, they could have picked a defensive lineman, and they chose to go with the quarterback. So I don't know if their defense is going to be any better. But maybe because they got a defensive-minded coach, he thinks that he can put things together and their defense will be manageable. And they brought in a guy with the Rams as an offensive coordinator who's been under his name's Robinson. Who's been under Sean McVay for a long time. So maybe they think their offense they are built to win, like you said. But I don't know about defense or not. But yeah, I just think Lanny would you think it'll cause any fracture in the locker room?
I wouldn't think so. You and I were discussing this. If Kirk D. Cousins does not want to take the money and he's mad, his feelings are hurt, I'll take the contract.
Yeah.
Because I don't know that he's going to be any better than I am until we see what he does on the field. But the GM kept saying, you always have to look to the future.
The GM who's won a bunch of playoff games and Super Bowls in his career, he doesn't have much of a record. But I just think there might be some players on the team that might, on the offensive side of the team, might want to have Kirk Cousins as the quarterback, and then later on, they got a younger guy. They might want to bring in Michael Penix, and you might have 2 wide receiver room, running back room, all that. They got a really good tight end and Kyle Pitts. They may take sides on which quarterback they want to play because we all know that those guys are a little bit of prima donnas out there.
Now, they did take, in the 2nd round, 35th pick, they took a defensive tackle.
Okay.
The 3rd round, they took an offensive I'm sorry, they took an outside linebacker, 3rd round.
Okay, so they
4th round, they took a defensive tackle. 5th round, they took a linebacker.
there you go.
6th round, they took a running back. 7th round, they took a wide receiver. And then in the 6th round also, they took a defensive tackle. So besides Penix, they took a late, 2 6th-round picks,
Yeah,
running back and wide receiver.
Yeah, they loaded up on defense after that. You're right.
So, I think they saw it and are kind of working that way. And I was trying to think, is Raheem Morris the coach
Yes.
that was at Miami? Wasn't that right? Wasn't
No. He was with the Rams as well.
Before that.
He was with he was the head coach at Tampa Bay for a while. This is his 3rd go around.
Who was the coach that got axed at Miami?
Oh, that was
Why can't I?
it wasn't Raheem Morris. He's now a defensive coordinator with the Vikings. He was with the Steelers the year before.
Okay,
Brian Flores.
Brian Flores.
That's who
Okay,
that's who you're thinking of.
Raheem Morris, 21 to 23 was the past 3 seasons defense coordinator for the Rams.
Mm-hmm.
Made 2 postseason appearances and captured a title in Super Bowl.
Yeah, as
So
a
he-
defensive coordinator, correct. He was the interim coach with the Falcons a few years ago, and prior to that, he was the head coach with Tampa.
Okay, he in the last 3 seasons, the LA defense has recorded the 4th best red zone efficiency rating and the 7th fewest rushing yards per game in the NFL.
You know why?
Well, it says last year is one of the youngest in the NFL.
They had Aaron Donald what they had. Yeah.
I get that. I was trying to see. Okay, read more. I want to read more. I couldn't find that button. Prior to that, he spent 6 seasons with the Falcons.
Yeah, as a
From 15 to 60, a variety of roles, including assistant head coach, passing game coordinator, assistant head coach, wide receivers, assistant head coach, wide receivers, secondary, defense coordinator in 20, in service or interim the final 12 weeks. Was that after who was it got the axe in the middle of the season?
This year?
No, when he was interim.
I can't remember.
Okay.
Was it not the guy that led them to the Super Bowl, who's now the coach with the Commanders? Is that who I'm thinking of?
I'm gonna look it up here in a second.
Yeah, I think so. That's who.
But he's bounced around.
He's still relatively young.
He was a defensive quality control coach when the Bucks won
Yeah,
their Super Bowl.
yeah. One of his guys he coached with was Tomlin. He and Tomlin are pretty tight.
Okay. He played safety at Hofstra,
Yeah, in Philly.
94 to 97. Okay. I
see why they did it. I think
I do.
Right? They need to have a plan B, and they're expecting to be good, so they're not going to have a number 8 pick overall anytime soon. So if they win 10 or 11 games, get a division championship, and make the playoffs, they're going to be drafting in the 20s. They're not going to be drafting at 8. They're going to be 8 when their hope is.
Well, they were
things
talking
aren't going
about
to fall apart.
They were talking about what Cowherd was saying. They're not going to be in the top 16. They're not expected to be in the top 16.
No. If they think
For another
if they
pick.
are as good as they think they are,
yeah.
you're right. This might be a first time in a long time that they're going to be able to draft that high, and there's no guarantee that you're going to have 6 quarterbacks ever taken again in the first round of the NFL draft.
Right, that's right.
Not with COVID and
then, like I say, the
and
other
everything.
side was now I'm getting to the Atlanta Falcons coaches. Here we go.
We give more publicity to the Falcons than the Falcons get in Atlanta.
Somebody has to love them. Nobody else does. And the bad part about it, nobody's been a great coach in Atlanta.
Dan Reeves, for a while, I would guess he would be one. Took him to a Super Bowl.
Okay, Mike Smith.
That's who I'm not thinking of. Mike Smith. It's the other guy who coached them in 2015 or 2016.
Well,
When
I
they led
can't
the
get past that. When I look at Atlanta complete history.
Who's the head coach with the Commanders? He was the defensive coordinator with the Cowboys last year. Check our audience. I'm sure they know. Dan
Quinn.
Dan Quinn. That's who
Dan
it is.
Quinn.
That's who I think it is.
Adam thinks it's a wasted pick if they want to win now. They needed defensive help, but it isn't a bad thing to have him sit a year if Cousins gets hurt. Well, and Adam, they spent the rest of their top-line picks on defensive players. They didn't pick another offensive player until the 6th round. There's basically nothing there.
What it came down to is what he's saying is, do you go for a possible franchise quarterback now or in the future, or do you pick a defensive lineman that can alter the way your defense is played?
But here's the deal. If you don't have a quarterback, you don't have anything.
No. So you got a first-round draft pick, and you're going to have a 5th-year option on him, so they know they got him until at least 5 years if they want to, at a relatively, I'll say low cost, but a manageable cost for their salary cap.
No, I agree. And it was Dan Quinn, okay? But did Dan Quinn leave in the middle of early in the season?
I think he did. I think he got canned. Not early in the season, but I think he got canned.
Well, Raheem, it had to be because Dan Quinn got canned because Raheem had him for 12 games.
Oh, it was that early. Okay.
Yep.
Normally they don't cut them. They don't fire coaches in the NFL that early.
Right. But yeah, I don't even remember Wade Phillips being there.
Wade Phillips with whom?
Atlanta for 5 games, 6 games. No, 3 games. I'm sorry. Was he an interim?
Had to be. I don't remember either.
And then Petrino, another bust.
Is this an indictment on their general manager and their coaches? Or is this an indictment on their owner, who's shelling out $100 million? For
a lot of folks said when you looked at the war room after that pick, the owner looked a little confused, and you could see them trying to explain to him why they did this.
Yeah, I think that if you follow some of the NFL in the insiders, they thought that it was Belichick's job, that he had the interview with Arthur Blank who is the owner. They had the interview, and they went out on his yacht and everything. They thought that it was all Belichick, and they set up a second interview. In between the first and the second interview, the general manager and a couple of other people within the front office got to the owner and convinced him otherwise. So,
do you think, and I've heard people talk about this, do you think Belichick would have been a fit?
I don't think he would have been, because he had some people that would backstab him at some point.
Well,
and those guys have been in with the Falcons for a number of years.
Well, I think to get Belichick, it was only going to be on his terms.
Yeah, I'm not so sure. He works. I don't know if Belichick's always got to go his way or the highway type thing. I just think that what is Atlanta? They've been to 2 Super Bowls?
Mm-hmm.
They've been to 2. They should have won 1.
Mm-hmm.
They've not been very good. They've had They have had top 10 draft picks over the last few years, top 8 draft picks, and they're still right around 500 or less.
Should they not have been better when Matty Ice was there?
Yeah, they went to the playoffs a bunch of times, yeah.
How many years was he there?
Oh, boy, 15 years?
15 more?
Yeah.
Just couldn't put the pieces together.
They made it a Super Bowl.
And they stopped, and they continued to change, let's see, when would Ryan he signed what Bobby Brzezinski hates is the one-day contract to retire. He just did that last week. He signed a one-day contract with the Falcons to retire as a Falcon. So he would have come in
2006, 2007, maybe 2004.
Okay, that would have been the Jim Moore era.
Maybe that's too early, because they went to the Super Bowl in 2016. So,
well, that's 20 years.
He was in his upper 30s, right?
That sounds right. That would have.
They made think about who was quarterbacking at that time. You had Eli, you had Rodgers, you had Matt Ryan in the NFC.
He's 38 years old.
Okay.
Matt Ryan is.
So it would have been
That would have been
16 years ago.
It would have been 03. That's what it looks like.
Okay.
15 seasons. No, 08. He was with the Falcons from 08 to 21. So in 08, he had Mike Smith for 7 years.
Yeah. I remember
NFC Championship, NFC South championships in 10 and 12, 4 playoff berths, 1 AP NFL Coach of the Year award. They had an NFC Championship one time with Dan Quinn, NFC South Championship and playoff berths. And they haven't sniffed anything since 20.
Yeah. So, again, think about the teams they were going up against, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cowboys were pretty decent. You had Eli with the Giants. You had Rodgers with Green Bay.
No.
So, yeah, they had some tough competition to get through, to get to at least one Super Bowl. And should have won that against the Patriots in whatever year that was, 2016 or 2017.
Well, it just, I don't know.
But they haven't done much, and they've changed coaches quite a bit, as you were pointing out. They've changed front office people quite a bit. There's been one guy that's stuck with there, and that's the McKay guy.
Rich McKay.
Rich McKay.
I don't get that one.
He's been in, but I think he's the one that has twisted the owner's arm or has his ear, that he's kind of the running the show kind of person.
And is he not?
He was out in Tampa
He
Bay.
is the youngest son of John McKay, who coached the Orange Sickles.
Yeah, and I think Rich played there too.
Was a ball boy.
It was a ball boy, yeah.
When his father was the head coach.
Yeah, and his brother played there.
When his father was head coach at Southern Cal, he played wide receiver.
Yeah, he had another brother that played, I believe, for Tampa with Spurrier, I believe. Anyway, we're going down rabbit holes again.
They have 2 sons. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me back up here. Rich McKay, prior to entering the NFL, he was an attorney at a law firm in Tampa. And he has a wife and 2 sons. But, yeah.
Yeah, he is. I think he was responsible for hiring Dungy at Tampa Bay.
Okay.
And maybe brought in Gruden after they got rid of Dungy, who went to Indianapolis. But he's been now with the Falcons now for a number of years, I believe. And I think he's
he's been at the Falcons since 03. He came in as GM in 03.
Well, he's the one running the show.
And he has been president, CEO since 08 until 23, and he just became CEO.
Yeah. There's some dysfunction in their front office. I'll just say that.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff that I've read.
Said during his tenure with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, he drafted Warren Sapp, Mike Allstott, Rondé Barber, Derek Brooks, Warwick Dunn. He constructed the 02 Buccaneers Super Bowl winning roster.
Tony Dungy 7. Did that. He's trying to take all the credit, but nonetheless, yeah, he was. And how tough was it to draft Warren Sapp when he fell right into your lap in the mid part of the first round?
And I don't remember Dungy being fired. He was fired from Tampa Bay.
He was.
And that's when they brought in Gruden.
Correct. Traded for Gruden,
but they had built the team. The team was already built. Gruden didn't build the team.
No, correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what
and won the Super Bowl the next year. And also on that staff was Mike Tomlin and Raheem Morris. They were on that staff in Tampa Bay with Tony Dungy and with Gruden. So they were the holdovers.
McKay and Gruden did not get along well.
No.
Gruden had players he wanted to bring in. McKay didn't want to.
Well, John Gruden doesn't get along with a lot of people, right? After a few years, he wears out his welcome.
Yeah. Interesting. I don't think Arthur Blank is running that franchise.
I agree.
I think.
He's 80 whatever, 86? 81.
81. That's what I heard this morning.
Home Depot guy. Yeah, I don't think he is either.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was one of the co-founders of Home Depot.
Okay. That's how he made his money.
Yes.
Okay. Let me take a break. Coming up in just a bit.
We're going to talk with Greg Paradine, the lacrosse coach, men's lacrosse coach at Lenore-Ryan. They won another championship. They knocked off the number 1 team in the country over the weekend, and they are the defending national champions. And so they're going to start defense of their championship coming up in a couple of weeks, and we'll hear from him.
I'm surprised. I didn't realize that the conference that Hickory, East Lincoln, North Lincoln is in, they have lacrosse. I wasn't aware of that.
I would say they've probably started within the last 5 or 6 years.
Okay. That's a sport that's catching on.
It has.
Pretty good sport to watch, too.
It is.
We're back in a moment.
Whether it's a sit-down meal or a call-in for the drive-thru, Brookwood Cafe and Catering is the answer. A variety of meats, vegetables, and desserts cooked daily, or a hot sandwich from the grill, they have what you're looking for to satisfy your taste buds. If you need catering from 5 to 500, Brookwood has you covered as well. Stop by Brookwood Cafe and Catering at 202 Providence Mill Road in Maiden. Don't forget breakfast daily till 11 a.m. Open Tuesday 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., Wednesday through Saturday 6 a.m. till 8 p.m., and Sunday from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. Call 828-428-8944 to place your order today.
If you ask around, you'll find Burke Mortuary has a reputation for excellence and commitment to value. They've built a reputation of trust for more than 35 years. Burke Mortuary is proud to offer personal attention, meaningful tributes, and the area's most affordable prices. They're also proud to offer you beautiful, state-of-the-art facilities. It's the perfect place to honor your loved one. So when choosing a funeral home, the choice is easy. Choose Burke Mortuary with locations in Maiden and Newton.
Covenant Church began as a vision of just over 100 people in 1984. Since then, Covenant Church has grown and currently located at 2168 Gastonia Highway in Lincoln. The Sunday schedule includes early morning worship at 8:30, Sunday school at 9:45, and morning worship at 10:45. Their ministries extend beyond Sunday. Visit their website at www.covenantchurch.church to see all they have to offer, and better yet, stop by and see for yourself. Covenant Church may be just what you're looking for a new church home. First Federal Savings Bank has been serving Lincoln County since 1940. And as it has been from the beginning, customer service is a priority to First Federal Savings Bank. They want to get to know you by name. First Federal Savings Bank has the convenience, the products, and the services that the larger banks have, but with hometown people that you see throughout your community. Stop in and visit one of their 4 convenient locations and see what First Federal Savings Bank has to offer you. Member FDIC, an equal housing lender.
Untangling your headphones, finding the right remote, saying goodbye to your favorite shirt that hasn't fit in 10 years. Why are simple things sometimes so complicated? Thankfully, with Auto Owners, insurance doesn't have to be one of them. Auto Owners works with independent agents who live in your community and answer when you call, so you can worry about more important things, like finding a new favorite shirt. That's simple human sense.
Call Mooney Insurance in Maiden or East Lincoln Insurance in Denver or visit mooneyinsurance.com. At Stifel Nicholas, we're committed to offering investors personalized investment guidance. We're a full-service organization with departments staffed with professionals that specialize in a wide range of investment opportunities, from the most conservative to the most aggressive. We strive to give each account, regardless of size, careful, individual attention. Call for Rembert today at 828-624-7300. Stifel Nicholas, member SIPC and the New York Stock Exchange.
And we are back. I was enlightening Juju on the universities that still have women's field hockey.
I did not.
They had it when I was up there almost 40 years ago.
When I walked through those doors tonight, I did not expect to be talking about field hockey
Somebody's
or the Atlanta Falcons for 30 minutes. Unbelievable.
We did have a comment come in.
Okay.
Stephen Lowe said, which team, in your opinion, had the best draft?
Oh, my goodness. That's an easy that's a softball question.
Okay.
I tell you 2 teams because I don't want to give it away the first easy team because it's obvious, right? It's obvious, in my opinion. But, again, it's an opinion. But I like what the Commanders did and how they drafted the players that they got. I like what the Chargers did, but I think the Steelers, everything I've read, and I follow them like the back of my hand, I think they got everybody they wanted. And they picked up guys that were older and a couple people that follow them. You know, the past teams, and because of COVID and because of this extra year and because of NIL and transfer portals, teams now get to pick. I think the depth of this draft was something else, but they got to pick. They picked 3 offensive linemen, Lanny, and all 3 of them were quoted as being, quote, ass kickers. So they got a guy that's their first-round draft pick. I can't pronounce his name properly, so I'm not going to mention it.
There's a few of those.
Yeah. Comes from the University of Washington. He protected the left-hand side for Michael Penix. He is Samoan. His favorite player growing up was Troy Polamalu. He has a tattoo of Troy Polamalu on his arm. His dad was a big
tiny
fan.
Troy with the nice hair, right?
No, I don't know. I don't think so. But on his recruiting trip before he signed with Washington, he went to USC, and the recruiting pitch was, hey, let's bring Troy out. We brought in these recruits. They put this guy in a separate room, and they brought Troy out, and he said it was like a dream come true. But this guy is 6'4", he's 320 pounds, and he is if you looked at any of the video, he knocks people right on their backside. They drafted a center out of West Virginia, state champion wrestler, wrestled in college. Another, if you want to call him, tough player, very, very tough player. And then they took a guy on the 3rd round, I believe, maybe the 4th round, 3rd or 4th round, who was a guard from South Dakota State. Another guy they look like they're Pittsburgh Steelers. They got a wide receiver from Michigan who will be a slot player. And they got the linebacker from NC State, who probably was the best linebacker in all of college football last year. He's got some injuries. He's had an injury background, injury history. But if he can stay healthy, he could be an inside starting linebacker for them. They got him in the 4th round, Peyton Wilson.
My problem is still the direction of Mike Tomlin.
What do you mean?
And his commitment to – you don't think the Steelers need to open up the offense a little bit?
That's what they're doing. They rebuilt their offensive line in the last 2 years.
But to me, when the Steelers rebuild an offensive line, it's because they want to run the ball more.
Well, that too. They brought in a new coordinator. They're going to go back to their roots. They're going to smash them out. You can't – I'm telling you, you can't – the NFL's changing. You can't sit back and throw the ball 3 wide and throw the ball all the time because defenses have caught up and they got 3 safeties in the back there. I mean, Kansas City didn't throw it all over the yard this year. They ran the football.
I agree.
They had a good defense. That's still, I think, a pretty good recipe. And if you're talking about wide receivers, the Steelers need a number 2 wide receiver. And I would not be surprised if you see something or hear something in the news as early as tomorrow that they're going to make a big trade for a splash trade for one of these big-name wide receivers. But I think they're rebuilding their offense. They're rebuilding it. Here's what I think they're doing. Their offensive coordinator was Arthur Smith with the Falcons. Prior to that, he coached in Tennessee when they had Derrick Henry. But he got his coaching chops with the Washington Redskins. His coach was Joe Gibbs. And they're going to run the counter trade. They're going to run the power, and they're going to play action pass, 2 tight ends or 3 tight ends. And they're going to do the same thing you saw the Redskins do back in the 80s and 90s, in my opinion.
What do you think about the Cardinals draft? That's another team I've heard done well, except they haven't got Marvin Harrison Jr. to sign yet.
Yeah. No, it's way early to get signed.
But is it not slotted? I thought those were all slotted.
They are slotted, but they're going to wait. He'll sign. He'll sign. I would think so. It would be a shocker. And they didn't waste much time. I think, like you said earlier, I think the NFL draft was kind of boring.
Yes, it was.
All the way up until the 8th pick. And I'm sure there were people calling on the phones and they had trade discussions and scenarios. But after a while, the team said, we don't want to take that chance. Let's trust our board. Let's trust the guys that we have scouted and we have ranked and everything, and let's pick the best player out there for us. I think the Cardinals did pretty well. I think the Chargers did okay. I think surprisingly, the teams at the top of the draft, who normally you you kind of question because they're normally not very good. I think the Bears did okay.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they got a quarterback and one of the best wide receivers in the draft at number 9. Rarely do you see a team that has the number 1 pick and the number 9 pick in the same year.
Mm-hmm.
And we saw how good the Texans got last year when they had 2 picks in the top 5.
I was trying to think who else went to the Cardinals. I thought it was on ESPN Plus, but I can't find it now. I don't want to watch stuff. I want to read stuff. There's a difference. Mm-hmm. And I also heard something today. Did Emmitt Smith go back to the Cowboys?
You mean to work in their front office? No, you're talking about Ezekiel Elliott.
Ezekiel Elliott, yes.
Yeah, he did. He re-signed.
I said Emmitt Smith. Way back. That's a way back running back.
Yeah, Zeke Elliott re-signed with the Cowboys. He played with the Patriots last year. Had a decent year, but I think he's a third down back, if not short yardage back.
Who else made splashes that you can think of from the NFL that needed help? Of course, Travis Kelce signed a $34 million contract today. Zeke is just on a 1-year deal.
I like I said what the Commanders did. They got the quarterback.
Now the Falcons did exercise Kyle Pitts' option for 2025.
5th-year option.
Yeah, which that will help. Let's see, somebody else. Now, the Falcons got an F on their draft grade.
Because of the quarterback? Is that why?
That's the only thing I could think of. Cardinals got an A. Eagles got an A.
Yeah, they did pretty well.
Steelers A-.
Yeah, I would say the Eagles were another one. They got 2 really good defensive backs. And they were way down on the draft board, too. Right?
Commanders A-. I think they did well. Baltimore got a B+. Houston a B+. Chiefs a B+. Chargers a B+. Bills got a B. Let me scroll on down here to the bad grades. I want to say the Panthers got a C. Does that sound right to you?
Did you see the press conference for Leggett, their top pick, the wide receiver? They moved into the first round.
Yeah.
They traded.
I didn't see the press conference, no.
I couldn't understand a word he said. He's got like a French accent from the Caribbean or something like that. He talks so fast.
The Browns got a C+. Broncos got a C+. Vikings got a C+. Titans got a C+. Falcons got a C. I could have sworn the Falcons got an F. One that I saw was an F.
Okay. Panthers got a running back. They got a tight end. Mm-hmm. They picked him in the 3rd round, and they got a wide receiver. Mm-hmm. So they're trying to get weapons for Bryce Young. They loaded up on offensive linemen. They have to overpay to bring linemen in through free agency because players don't want to come to Carolina. So they overpaid for a couple of guards to protect him. Mm-hmm. Did they draft this? They needed a center. Did they draft a center? If they got one, they got it mid-round.
Don't think so.
Okay.
Jonathan Brooks, the running back.
Texas.
Trayvon Wallace from Kentucky, linebacker. Got a tight end out of Texas. Corner out of Washington State. A defensive tackle out of Mississippi State. And linebacker out of Michigan.
They must be moving one of those the previous guards, either Corbett or Christensen to center.
Let me see. Let me get out of the draft and look at their depth chart. They brought 2 guards in.
Yeah.
And that was
one was Hunt.
Robert Hunt and Damian Lewis. Yeah. Lewis came from the Ravens.
I think so.
Does that sound right?
Or the Jets.
That's the 2 guards. They got the same 2 tackles, and Austin Corbett is a center.
They're moving Corbett to center.
With no backup.
Yeah.
On the depth chart.
There are centers out there. They can get veteran centers that are free agents.
Damian Lewis is 27 years old, 6'2", 327, played at LSU.
I mean, good players.
Yes.
Good players, but they are among the highest paid linemen now in the NFL.
Oh, yeah. Let me take another quick break, and then we'll talk a little lacrosse when we come back.
it's a sit-down meal or a call-in for the drive-thru, Brookwood Cafe and Catering is the answer. A variety of meats, vegetables, and desserts cooked daily or a hot sandwich from the grill, they have what you're looking for to satisfy your taste buds. If you need catering from 5 to 500, Brookwood has you covered as well. Stop by Brookwood Cafe and Catering at 202 Providence Mill Road in Maiden. Don't forget breakfast daily till 11 a.m. Open Tuesday 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., Wednesday through Saturday 6 a.m. till 8 p.m., and Sunday from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. Call 828-428-8944 to place your order today.
If you ask around, you'll find Burke Mortuary has a reputation for excellence and commitment to value. They've built a reputation of trust for more than 35 years. Burke Mortuary is proud to offer personal attention, meaningful tributes, and the area's most affordable prices. They're also proud to offer you beautiful, state-of-the-art facilities. It's the perfect place to honor your loved one. So when choosing a funeral home, the choice is easy. Choose Burke Mortuary with locations in Maiden and Newton.
Covenant Church began as a vision of just over 100 people in 1984. Since then, Covenant Church has grown and currently located at 2168 Gastonia Highway in Lincoln. The Sunday schedule includes early morning worship at 8:30, Sunday school at 9:45, and morning worship at 10:45. Their ministries extend beyond Sunday. Visit their website at www.covenantchurch.church to see all they have to offer, and better yet, stop by and see for yourself. Covenant Church may be just what you're looking for a new church home. First Federal Savings Bank has been serving Lincoln County since 1940. And as it has been from the beginning, customer service is a priority to First Federal Savings Bank. They want to get to know you by name. First Federal Savings Bank has the convenience, the products, and the services that the larger banks have, but with hometown people that you see throughout your community. Stop in and visit one of their 4 convenient locations and see what First Federal Savings Bank has to offer you. Member FDIC, an equal housing lender.
Untangling your headphones, finding the right remote, saying goodbye to your favorite shirt that hasn't fit in 10 years. Why are simple things sometimes so complicated? Thankfully, with auto owners, insurance doesn't have to be one of them. Auto Owners works with independent agents who live in your community and answer when you call, so you can worry about more important things, like finding a new favorite shirt. That's simple human sense.
Call Mooney Insurance in Maiden or East Lincoln Insurance in Denver or visit mooneyinsurance.com. At Stifel Nicholas, we're committed to offering investors personalized investment guidance. We're a full-service organization with departments staffed with professionals that specialize in a wide range of investment opportunities, from the most conservative to the most aggressive. We strive to give each account, regardless of size, careful, individual attention. Call 4Rembert today at 828-624-7300. Stifel Nicholas, member SIPC and the New York Stock Exchange.
And we're back. Thanks for joining us here on a Monday evening, bright, sunshiny Monday evening. We'll go to our guest line, bring our next guest on. He's the head coach with the Lorraine Bears. Just picked up their second SAC Men's Lacrosse Conference Championship, getting ready to go down the road to the playoffs. Coach, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely.
So how do you follow up a following year championship run?
Oh, well, you know, we're really hoping that we have a team that can get us there. We've got a very veteran group, and we're ready to go. I think we're playing our best football at the best time of year.
And that's what you want. You want to be peaking when you get to the end of the year. You don't want to have already peaked. But I'm sure that the depth and the maturity of the team will help, because it won't be new to them going through the playoffs.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we've got a group, a senior class that's been to, 2 national championship appearances, and we're hoping on a third, and we're going to rely on those veterans to try to get us back to a third championship weekend.
Hey, Coach, you beat Limestone yesterday. They were number 1 in the country. They were undefeated, and they scored 20-some goals in a couple of matches that I saw, maybe one earlier in the week, and you held them way below that. Talk about that, and how were you able to come back and win a lower-scoring match yesterday for the championship?
Well, we we knew how explosive they were as a team, and we had to sort of make them uncomfortable. And I think we did that. Our faceoff guy, Matt Mancini, was the MVP of the SAC championship weekend. Really controlled the game for us, and our defense is really the strength of our team. Those guys down there have played in a lot of meaningful games, and they were prideful. I mean, when Limestone took it to us down there early in the season, and then we were ready to get a little bit of revenge when it mattered.
And it did. You're coming off the championship, as Lanny just said. How have you coached differently this year? How is this team different from the past, or at least last year's team that won it all?
We're much different offensively. We have 4 or 5 Division I transfers who we really had to get acclimated to our system and the style of play. And I think that's kind of where we knew it was going to be a little bit slower this year in developing. Our defense, like I said, we had everybody returning off last year's championship team defensively, so we knew we were going to be strong there. But these guys, some of our transfers, have really bought in and just meshed really well with our returners. And like I said, we're starting to play really confident lacrosse right now at the end of the year. And I feel like we're pretty battle-tested, off a double overtime win against Wingate and then Limestone in the championship game.
I guess as being a defending national champions, you've played a lot of nationally ranked teams this year. Are you getting the other team's best shot each and every time?
Yeah, and we told our guys early in the season, we have to give them our best shot. And if we do that, I feel pretty good about the outcome. And we've been able to do that every game except that first Limestone game. I think we played well, and now we're in the new season. Now it's one and done time, and you have to respect every opponent. We're hoping to be the number 1 seed. We think we've done enough with our resume. We've got 6 wins of the top 10 teams in the country, so we feel like our resume will help us get number 1 seed, and that could be a huge advantage in the tournament.
And being a number 1 seed, you're the number. I guess it came out this afternoon. You are now back up to the number 1 team in the country, and for some reason you're not the number 1 seed in the whole tournament. Is that Tampa, the team that you beat earlier this year? Are they the number 1 seed right now?
Right. Yeah. As of last weekend's regional rankings, Tampa was number 1. They won their conference championship game, but we have the head-to-head, and we played 2 really strong opponents in our conference tournament, and we feel like our resume, is really, really strong. So it's definitely an advantage to be the 1 seed, and hopefully everything has to run through Hickory before you get to Philadelphia.
How much have you guys as a program talk? You said you had a veteran unit. How much have you guys talked about repeating as national champions?
In the first meeting in the year, we talked about our goals, and we said that we had the personnel in that room to repeat, but that was it. It was really the focus all the time, and I know this is cliche, but it's just to be playing your best lacrosse towards April and May, and then see what happens. I feel like we've really done that. We've had to, like I said, we've had to piece together the puzzle offensively, losing Torrin Eccleston, who moved up to St. Joseph's in Division I. He's killing it on the Division I level right now. Miles Moffitt was, one of our all-time leading scorers as well. So we had some holes there to fill offensively, and we feel like we've got a good handle on that now.
Talking with Coach Greg Paradine, we're looking for the matchups. When will they be announced, the brackets officially announced?
They'll be announced next Sunday night.
Okay.
Is where the selection show. The regional rankings will come out Wednesday, and 1 through 3 shouldn't change. There's still some conference tournaments that need to be played in our region, but that shouldn't affect Tampa, us, and Limestone. Those are going to be the 3, 1 through 3. It's just a matter of what order.
Right, and that's what it is now. Tampa's at number 1 with the last regional record. Then Limestone was 2, and Lenore Ryan was 3, which should get switched I would think, between Limestone and Lenore Ryan.
Yeah, we definitely feel that'll be the case. And with the head-to-head win against Tampa, and it was a fairly convincing win earlier in the season. We feel like we've got a really strong resume. I think out of the top 10 RPI teams in the country, we're 6-1, and nobody has that resume.
Well, and it's the other thing that's interesting. Out of the top 8 teams, 4 of them come from the SAC.
Yep, the top of our conference is by far the most competitive. I think down towards the bottom, that's where we struggle. We're probably not as deep as the Sunshine Conference down in Florida, but the top 4 teams in our country, in our conference, are the best in the country.
I guess you would have never thought that when you came on board 15 years ago that not only LR but the SAC could be, as a conference, as good as it's becoming on the national stage in men's lacrosse.
Yeah, when I took over, the SAC didn't even have lacrosse. We were in a conference with Tampa, St. Leo's, Florida Southern, and then Catawba, Mars Hill, and Wingate and up. So it was called the Deep South Conference, and we had to play teams from Florida. And then as the sport developed in the South, really the best teams are in the South currently.
Wow.
And really it shifted. The talent level in Division II lacrosse has really shifted to the Southern teams.
What would you attribute that to?
I think kids want to come south. We've got great facilities. It's competitive. The weather's good. The schools are good. The Northeast is a miserable place to be in February and March when a lot of lacrosse season is played. And I think we've got some great coaches down here in the South. I think that's a big part of it as well.
And we're talking with one of them.
Yeah,
probably the best. Yeah,
undoubtedly. Yeah, we can start bringing some of that goat stuff up as we talk about it. So, what do you do in this week of waiting until you get those brackets and announcements and know what's going to happen next?
We'll give the guys a couple of days off. It was a really physical week with that double overtime win against Wingate, and then yesterday at Limestone. So we'll give those guys a couple of days off. We'll get back together and go Wednesday through Saturday. Give them off Sunday. Get together for the selection show, and then we'll go into that next week as our game week prep. Not knowing who will play. Wednesday will be the first round, so we'll know one of 2 teams, on Sunday who it'll be.
Now, the first round buys?
So, yes, first round gets 1 and 2 get by.
Okay.
So that's a big advantage of being the top 2 seed.
Yeah, and I could see where I was looking at the bracket. It's empty, but that's what it appeared to me as the top 2 in each region would get by. So that gives you a little more time. Sometimes I think too much time off can be bad as well.
Yeah, it can be, but we've seen it both ways. Last year we had to play on that Wednesday and go on the road, and there was a lot of benefits to that. But I would certainly take a 1 or 2 seed and have people come to Brett Stadium where we have great crowds, and it's really tough. It's really tough to beat us at home.
Now, is it played at the home school up until when? Semis or finals?
Up until the championship game.
Okay.
So if you're the number 1 seed, it's a big advantage, because Tampa would have to come here, or we'd have to go to Tampa possibly. So it's we're going to be really on pins and on needles when the rankings come out on Wednesday.
Yeah, and that'll pretty well tell you where things are.
Yeah, I don't think it won't change because we're all done. The top 3 are done.
Okay. All right, Coach Wibbetts, appreciate your time as always, and want to keep up with you as you go through the playoffs. Best of luck moving forward, and congratulations on a job well done so far.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Coach. Thanks, Coach. We appreciate it. That's Coach Greg Paradine. That is that's pretty much an accomplishment. When I looked at the brackets and saw that 4 of the top 8 teams, and I don't know how many teams there are in men's lacrosse in Division II, but they only take 16, and 4 of the top 8 in the South are the same conference.
Yeah. And and Newberry's one of them. Newberry didn't have lacrosse until a year or two ago.
Newberry, Limestone, Wingate, and Lenoir-Rhyne.
Yeah.
That's the 4 SAC conference.
You know, he was talking about home field advantage is such a big-time thing for LR, but if you look back on their national championship, Lanny, they played all their playoff games were on the road last year. They didn't have any home games. They went in they weren't a first or second seed.
Wow.
So they had to travel, I'm going to guess, like 1,500 miles, 2,000 miles. They had 3 matches, including the national championship, which is in Philadelphia.
That's where
at Lincoln
every
Financial.
Year.
They rotated it. I think this year, though, it's still in Philly
at
Lincoln Financial Field. But they were in Tampa. Then they had to come back to Limestone. They beat Limestone to go to the national championship. And then they played and won that match against the team from Pennsylvania.
Now, we were talking field hockey.
Yeah.
Only my daughter would know something about field hockey, not that she ever played. She said, did you see where Aaron Matson, which I have no clue, wasn't allowed to try out for the U.S. Olympic field hockey team? So that's an Olympic sport as well, field hockey is.
I'm trying to figure out a nice way to put it.
She said literally the GOAT of the sport.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe Aaron was another name for somebody that was trans.
No.
Okay.
Nope.
Because some states, you're allowed to do that.
Yeah. She is.
She wasn't allowed to try out? Why? Because she is
Must
she
be her age. She's the head coach at Carolina.
Oh.
The field hockey team at Carolina. She led the Tar Heels to 4 NCAA championships from 18 to 2022. And then she went into coaching, undoubtedly. She played through 22, and then she became the head coach at 23 at Carolina. And her head coaching record is already 18-3 for the previous year.
Well, she'd have to retire then, right? She'd have to step aside and give back her money. And
it says that
can you have a coach? Can you have a coach and be a player too?
I don't know why you couldn't, but it said that with her career achievements rivaling those of Michael Jordan, Mia Hamm, and Tyler Hansborough.
That's something. I mean, Mia Hamm especially.
She won the Honda Sports Award 3 times as the nation's top collegiate field hockey player in 19, 20, and 22. And she won 4 NCAA championships as a player.
There you go.
And 5 ACC titles in her 5 seasons in Chapel Hill due to the pandemic.
Very decorated player then.
I was telling Juju that he didn't realize field hockey was still going on. I didn't realize it was a Olympic sport.
Oh yeah,
I was not aware of that. And
the other new Olympic sport they're going to have this summer, 2 new sports. Breakdancing is an Olympic sport.
Stop it.
It is. It's breakdancing is an Olympic sport, and flag football.
I did hear about the flag football,
but you didn't know about breakdancing.
No.
Yeah. I don't know how do you judge?
I'm pretty sure I will not be marking that or recording it in case I miss it if it's on TV.
You may just come up on it.
No, I can tell you I will not come up on it. I will come up on it and keep on going. That's not going to happen. Question. Summer Olympics, Winter Olympics?
When I was younger, when I was like in an impressionable age in my teens, I loved the Winter Olympics. Because I was in Pennsylvania and it was cold, so I liked the indoor stuff. I liked watching the figure skating. Mary Lou Retton Mary Lou Retton, and then the hockey team in 1980. Bruce Jenner, 76. I was 14, 15 years old. So, yeah, a little bit of both, but I would say probably Winter Olympics. I like the bobsleds and all that.
I enjoy the Winter Olympics much more. I like the sports of the Winter Olympics.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is because the Summer Olympics sports that I enjoy very seldom make TV time. You see very little weightlifting. You see very little wrestling. You see very little field events.
Yeah.
You see track events, but you don't see the field events. And those were the sports that I'm attracted to. Could care less about the gymnastics. Could care less about the figure skating in the Winter Olympics. But I'm like you, the bobsled, the luge, the skeleton. Love all of the skiing events, all of them, because I skied a lot when I was younger. And just those are the sports that I really like. I even watch curling. I like watching curling. But I enjoy the Winter Olympics much more than I do the Summer Olympics.
I think when we're younger in our teens, I think it's very impressionable on the sports that we watched. Like I was a big basketball fan, growing NBA fan when I was in my teens and in my 20s, but not anymore.
I had a goal when I was in elementary school, about the 7th or 8th grade. There was a group of us. We were all going to go to Montreal in '76 to the Olympics. Now, that didn't happen, but we were young, and you had those dreams that you thought you could do that, but that did not happen.
That was a heck of that. The '76 and '80 Olympics made big impressions on me.
Yeah. Do you like that they've switched it up so you've got an Olympics every 2 years?
Probably, yeah. I like it that way instead of have to wait 4 years. But there's so much competition now. You can see Olympic-style events and Olympic-style competition. Mm-hmm. There's a girl from LR who's really close to qualifying for the Olympic trials
in
100-meter race, 100 meters
really
sprint, dash, whatever you want to call it. And she is like 0.4 of a second. Her name's Alexis Smith, but she didn't run track as a senior in high school.
Are they big into the track and field sports at LR?
Yeah, they are now. Ever since they put the track up, and it's been pretty strong the last few years.
I know.
That's something, though, to go from high school where you didn't even run track as a senior because you didn't like the coach, and then
that's today's athlete.
Her girlfriend of hers was already at LR. I don't think it was an athlete, but said, "Hey, come on up here. You ought to try the program up here." She came up, and she's been like a 3-time All-American already. Was a national champion last year.
There was one of my kids that was in high school when I was coaching. He was a big cross-country runner, and he wound up going to Belmont Abbey. I knew a couple other guys. But when I went back and got my teaching certificate in the mid-'90s, I was in class with, I want to say his name was Greg Wyatt, Charlie Wyatt, School Board Charlie Wyatt, and Michael Wyatt.
Yeah.
I coached with Michael. It's Michael's older brother, Greg. Greg was the cross-country coach at one time at Lenore-Ryan.
Yeah, he was. I remember the name, yeah.
And
that was way before when they
mid-'90s.
Yeah, weren't putting any money in the program. When Fred Goldsmith got hired as head football coach, one of the first things he wanted to do was start a track and field program to take some of that those athletes and also recruit those guys that can run track and play football. That way you can get more money for them. And then
when I was in high school, we had to have – you were not a one-sport athlete, okay? You played football. You either played basketball or wrestled, and you either ran track or you played baseball.
But a lot of these small schools, though, you played these other sports because just to keep you in shape.
That's why we did it.
Yeah.
Because we didn't have 10 players on the track and field.
No.
And I was a field guy. But if I'm not mistaken, you could compete either 3 or 4 events in a meet. I can't remember. I did shot and disc. And it must have been 3 because he made the fat boys run the 880 relay, which was a 220-yard sprint, back when it was still yards and not meters. And it was 3 fat boys that played football, or 4 fat boys that ran the 880. And a 220-yard sprint is a lot on a fat man.
That's a lot on any kid.
And he made us run 2 miles a day. We had to run 2 miles a day to warm up. And that's how he kept us in shape. And then we'd go throw after we did the warm-up.
There you go.
But anyway, we've been down a rabbit hole. What else you got, sir?
That's it.
Good?
Good discussion about track and field. Good discussion about the NFL draft.
And we decide who's the best?
I'm going to be biased here. I still think it's the black and gold had the best draft. We'll see.
I hope they are.
You can't tell them for another year or two. But be looking tomorrow to hear the Steelers going to pick up a top
Who
name.
do you think?
A top name wide receiver.
Who do you think?
I'm thinking Cortland Sutton from the Denver Broncos or Devontae Adams or Deebo Samuel. It's one of those three.
Yeah. They're all out there hunting for something else. All right. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome, my friend.
Have a good evening. As far as I know, Mr. Rimmer will be in tomorrow.